The title of this subject will be Keeping the Fire Going as a metaphor for mindfulness, what we call sati. Often in Dhamma, we need to use a lot of metaphors, a lot of examples from the material world to explain the Dhamma, to explain what's happening in the mind. Because everything that we're discussing in Dhamma is immaterial. It doesn't have a color, it doesn't have a shape. You can't see it with your eyes. One good image is worth a lot of words. So in this case, we're talking about mindfulness, what we call sati. Now there are really literally thousands of definitions of mindfulness. So that's one reason why we prefer to call it sati, to distinguish it from the rest. So this is not the place to give a long definition or explanation about what is sati, but at the moment it's enough to just say that it's an essential quality in meditation, and it could be translated by the word awareness or perhaps attention. And the awareness of what is also important to understand. So it doesn't mean being aware of sensations on the soles of your feet as you walk, or being aware of just the sounds that are going around, or being aware of things outside. This refers to knowing the mind. So really awareness and attention on the mind, which includes being aware of the emotions as they arise in the mind, how the mind is reacting to everything that it touches, and all the intentions that arise in the mind, either for thoughts, for speaking, or for physical movement. And this is to be compared to fire. Fire as something that gives light, something that gives heat, without which we are very much at a loss. So we talked a bit about like the value of fire as compared to the value of Dhamma or the value of meditation in another video, but for the moment now we're talking about how to make fire and how to keep fire, as compared to how to create sati, because as we don't have it. We don't have awareness of the mind. We're just talking automatically, thinking automatically without knowing, acting automatically without knowing. So how do we create this awareness? And how do we keep it then? So if we come back to our metaphor of fire, if we want to make fire, there are many different ways. We can use a lighter, or we can use matches, or if we are in the forest and we don't have the normal tools, we can have a bow drill, friction fire, or we can use a flint. So there are many different ways to make fire, and in the same way there are several different meditations that were taught in the Buddha time and that we can use to create mindfulness. But mainly now we want to see, okay, let's say we have practiced meditation and we've been able to create sati, to have this attention on the mind, to have awareness on our mind. But then how do we maintain it? How do we keep it? This is really the key question, because it's one thing to create a spark of fire, and it's quite another thing to keep it going so that you can use it long term. It's one thing to make a spark and another thing to have a bonfire that you can keep going. And in the same way, it's one thing to be able to have attention and awareness on the mind for 1 minute or for 5 minutes or even for 1 hour. But how can we keep it going constantly throughout the day in everything we do? Because it's not enough to do 5 minutes meditation in the morning, 5 minutes meditation in the evening, or even 1 hour in the morning, 1 hour in the evening. We have to be able to do it constantly. Sporadic, occasional meditation is just not enough to really progress in Dhamma. You might progress a little bit very slowly, but it's not really enough to make any really significant progress, or if your aim is really to find wisdom You will take a long, long time. So with fire, to come back to the material example of fire, let's say if you're in an extreme situation and you are in the forest and without much material or without much that you can use to be able to maintain your fire, and let's say if you want to travel between one place and another and you can't carry a bonfire with you, what do you do? So there is a mushroom that grows on birch trees called chaga. It's well known for its medicinal properties, but a little bit less well known as being a really excellent way of keeping fire. So it's actually something that will retain an ember for up to maybe 12 hours or even longer. So you can light the chaga and it will not create a flame, but it will just keep the ember that will go inside the chaga for the whole day. But the disadvantage to this is that, yes, you keep the fire just so that you don't lose it, but you're not keeping it in a form that you can use it. It doesn't give light. It doesn't really give a lot of heat. It basically just serves the function of at least you don't lose it, and with a bit of effort you will be able to light a fire again easily from that, without having to go through all the trouble of starting a fire again. So in the same way in meditation, if we are not very experienced or not very well developed yet, in the beginning it's very difficult or almost impossible to keep really a total constant awareness and attention to meditate throughout the day constantly, just like that. But our main objective is not to lose totally the spark of attention and awareness we might have created with 1 hour of meditation in the morning, for example. So to do that, we have to use tricks and techniques to bring our mind back by force to be aware inside and not to be just in whatever subject that we are doing, totally forgetting that we're supposed to be meditating. So that can be either by literally putting an alarm, beep beep every hour, for example, that forces us to, oh, okay, maybe I will go and do 5 minutes at that time. So to keep going the meditation a little bit with 5 minutes every hour. Or it can be by using a question that we train ourselves to bring back to our mind again and again, like, present? Are you present? Now you look into the mind and see what's there. So this means that although you don't have constant awareness and attention, at least you don't lose totally the spark of awareness and attention, and you keep it going a little bit in a small form. So that when you come to the evening, for example, and you want to meditate again, now you're not coming back from being totally lost in emotion and all the stories of the day. You had a little awareness and attention all throughout the day, and now you just have to blow on it or create a bigger spark, and now you can light your fire of attention again. So this is just like the chaga. But if we want to go a step up from that, this would be more like having a candle, for example. So a candle, this is fire that you can carry around with you wherever you want, and you constantly have light, you constantly have heat. Anytime you want to light another fire from it, you just have to touch the fire to the flame, and now you have another fire. So it's a kind of step up from the chaga, but it does have one disadvantage in that it doesn't have protection, so it's very easy to blow it out with one breath of wind, or if there's rain on it, it can go out. So in the same way, in terms of meditation, the candle would be like somebody who has worked hard enough that now he's able to keep awareness and attention constantly, automatically throughout the day, that his awareness and attention becomes like an automatic thing that is constantly there. He is constantly aware of his mind. But this is very easy to lose. It doesn't mean that you keep it all the time forever. So just like the candle, if something happens to shake up your circumstances or something changes, it's quite easy to lose. So what do? We need to have a protection. We need to have something that's still a little bit better. If we want to have a better form of a candle, what's the next step up? Would be like an oil lamp or a lantern. So a lantern is glass all around. It burns for 24 hours, if we're talking about an oil lamp. no matter what, if there's rain, if there is wind, if there's a storm, whatever is going on, it will still keep burning because it's protected. So what does this represent in Dhamma? What does this represent in terms of sati? So actually it represents the person who has seen Dhamma. So this is either a stream enterer or above, means somebody who has seen the Dhamma for themselves. Normally we say sotapanna up to arahan. And so this means that this person will never lose sati. They will have it always automatically. It's like some element has changed in their mind that this sati never leaves. So just in the same way that a lantern doesn't get blown out no matter what winds there are or what storm there is or what rain there is, the sati of one who has seen Dhamma cannot be removed by whatever external event happens to him, no matter what kind of problem he has or either benefits or losses. The sati is always there. And this is one of the main things that makes him different from a practitioner who hasn't yet seen Dhamma.